Yreka, California, at Greenhorn Park, which is partially where I grew up. Well, not in the park itself, but in the town. And the reason I want to do a video here is they've got a lot of artifacts of the gold mining era. There's a tremendous amount of gold that was taken out of this part of the world in the late 1800s, and the town just sort of stuck around for no really good reason since then. And so we're going to look at some of the stuff that's here at the park. This bin may well be part of a cyaniding mill. It was common to pour sodium cyanide solution over the extracted ore, and the cyanide would stick to the gold and leach it out from the ore. This is part of a hydraulic dredge. They'd pump high pressure water into these. They come out this nozzle and they just play it back and forth across the hillside and wash everything down into sluice boxes. That was a pretty common thing in California up until World War II, at which point the government shut down all gold mines in the country to focus on the war effort. So there were a lot of these going on through the 20s and 30s into the early 40s. This is probably some kind of a mill. Oh, this is a ball mill. I think the ore gets dumped in the top here and falls down through that hole, and then this rotates and it rides on these essentially like ball bearings, which crush the ore up, and then it comes out as very fine particles there. They would then take that finely ground ore, run it through a sluice box to filter the gold out. Got a little hit and miss gasoline engine here, single cylinder, quite well seized. The cooling system for this is literally, you would have filled this box full of water and just kept it full of water. The pistons in here, goes back and forth, drives the flywheel. You see the valve gear through here. Would have driven a belt. This is probably a rod mill. There'd be long steel rods that ran this way in here as it spins, driven by something like that engine. The rods will go up and then come down and crush the ore in there, and the little stuff will fall out. I believe a common way of doing it is they do a rod mill followed by the ball mill. So the rod mill did the rough crushing, the ball mill did the fine crushing. A little bit of ore cart track here. Fake portal up there. You'll see this in mines quite frequently. The switch would have been here, would have had a piece of track that came off the frog and just swung back and forth to change the path of the cart. This is an earlier system for crushing ore. The big vertical wheel would be a water wheel. Turns, drives this horizontal wheel on the vertical shaft, which would turn some kind of a stone or a mortar and pestle to grind things up for the advent of power. The old-fashioned way of moving ore. These are ore buckets. Don't know how common it was here, but in a lot of places they built an aerial tramway, which think like a ski lift. They'd load ore in the buckets at the top. It would come rolling down on the, down on the cableway, dump at the mill at the bottom. Some places like in Glacier Basin out of Monte Cristo, near Everett, Washington, they'd have 2 or 3 lines that fed into the same mill. This is a stamp mill. Ore carts would come in. The mine would be up there. So ore carts would come out of the mine or be fed by a tramway, one of the two. Come in here and dump into the ore bin here at the top. Fall down here, some kind of distributor. And then as that cam turns, it lifts the vertical pieces, and the stamps would raise and then come down and squish, break the ore up. Would fall down here. This would be a shaker table. Belt drives this. Flywheel causes it to oscillate back and forth, and it shakes down, which also has a separatory. Anyway, the heavy stuff tends to go to the bottom, the lighter stuff goes at the top. Your gold is going to be in the heavy concentrates, and the rest of it just gets dumped someplace. This is a vertical drill, so they would use this for drilling holes in the ceiling, because whenever possible they like to blast the ceiling and let it fall to the floor. It's much easier to do it that way rather than, you know, drill horizontally and have to scoop everything into carts. You just pile the carts under there, drill up, blast, everything falls into the carts, haul it away. It's all about being lazy. This would be the actual drill portion. That's probably the air inlet. This would probably be a water inlet. So they would bring this in, run this part up till it sticks in the ceiling of the mine, and then use this to drive vertical holes, stack them with dynamite, blast it, etc., etc. Inside of the backside of the stamp mill. Those are the stamps. They have cast iron shoes that are replaceable. So these shoes would be replaceable as they wore out, and then the steel parts. Miners Foundry, San Francisco, California, 1874. Flywheel there that would drive that spin, lifts the collars on the shafts, which raise the shoes up and drop them. I have no idea if any of these buildings are original, if they're all reproductions, or if they're moved from someplace else. Yeah. Oh, dressed tin. Nice. You can see how red the soil is here on the hillside. So, a lot of iron in the soil here, which typically gold precipitates in the same kinds of chemical reactions that iron travels in. There's an old saying that gold rides an iron horse, just meaning that where you find iron, you're likely to find gold and Starbucks sleeves. Tin siding. You can see where it's nailed in here. Would have been common late 1800s era. Piece of rock. Piece of quartz. You can see the iron staining in there. Greenhorn Reservoir, kind of down at the south end of town. The far edge of the reservoir you're seeing is a dam that holds it back. Sometime in the, late 80s, early 90s, there was an old unknown tunnel from a gold mine that ran under that dam and under the lake. Nobody knew it was there. It collapsed, and the entire lake flooded into downtown Yreka. Kind of a bad day there. My great-grandfather used to come down here every day and feed the ducks. I assume the population probably collapsed after he moved. Alright, well, it's cold and we still got 2 more hours of driving to do to get to where we're staying tonight, so I think I'll end this here and see you on the next one.